Amina stepped out of the small bus with her single travel bag close to her chest. The afternoon sun rested gently on the quiet village, making the dust on the path shine like tiny grains of gold. This village had been her second home when she was a child, but she had not visited for many years. Now, she had returned for a new beginning, though the reason behind her return carried a mix of sadness and responsibility. Her late Aunt Zainab had left her the old house at the far end of the village, and Amina had come to live there and take care of it. She walked slowly toward the house, studying the familiar trees, the old path, and the sound of distant children playing. Everything looked the same, yet everything felt different. When she reached the gate, she paused and touched the wooden frame. It was worn and cracked, as if it had been waiting for someone to open it again. Amina pushed it gently, and the gate creaked loudly, almost like it was speaking after being silent for too long. The house stood quietly, wrapped in memories and soft shadows. It had mud walls, a rusted zinc roof, and windows that watched over the land like patient eyes. Amina unlocked the door and stepped inside. The room smelled of dust, old fabric, and faint perfume. Her aunt's scent, the one she remembered from childhood. It made Amina pause, feeling a pull in her heart. She whispered a soft greeting as if speaking to her aunt's spirit. The house was full of items left untouched since the day Zainab passed. Amina could see folded clothes on a chair, books arranged neatly on a wooden shelf, and a cup still sitting on the small table. It was as if her aunt had stepped out for a moment and never returned. Amina touched the back of the chair gently and felt a wave of emotion. She remembered how Zainab used to sit there while telling her stories. Amina set down her bag and decided to clean the place before unpacking. She opened the windows to let in fresh air. The wind blew softly through the house, carrying the scent of trees and soil. She picked up a broom and began sweeping. Each step made dust rise like tiny clouds, dancing around before settling again. As she cleaned, she found herself thinking about her aunt, how she used to laugh, how she spoke with calm strength, and how she always seemed to hide something deep in her eyes that no one understood. After cleaning the main room, Amina moved to the bedroom. The bed was neatly made, the sheets still smelling of lavender. She dusted the table beside it, where a small lamp and an old diary sat. She touched the diary but did not open it. She felt she was not ready yet. Something inside her told her that this house had more mysteries than she expected. On the right side of the bedroom stood a tall wooden wardrobe. Its doors were carved with simple patterns, and though old, it still looked strong. Amina remembered how her aunt used to tell her never to play near it. As a child, she thought the wardrobe held beautiful things, but she was never allowed to look inside. Now, as the new owner of the house, she felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness as she walked toward it. She pulled on the handle gently. The wardrobe groaned as if waking up from years of sleep. Inside, Amina saw neatly folded clothes, headscarves, and small boxes. But one thing caught her attention immediately. Hanging at the center of the wardrobe was a dress, a beautiful dress made of soft, flowing fabric. It was light-colored, with delicate embroidery along the edges. It looked untouched, as though her aunt had placed it there only yesterday. Amina reached out slowly and touched the dress with her fingertips. The moment her skin touched the fabric, she felt a strange shiver run through her. Not a painful one, but a quiet, mysterious feeling, like the dress carried a story waiting to be told. She lifted it slightly, feeling its weight and softness. It seemed too special to be an ordinary dress. Amina wondered why her aunt had kept it so carefully and why it looked like it had never been worn. She took the dress out gently and laid it on the bed. As she looked at it closely, she noticed the fine stitches and the care put into every detail. Someone had made this dress with love and patience. Amina sat beside it and tried to imagine her aunt wearing it. But strangely, she realized she had never seen Zainab in such a dress. Her aunt always dressed simply, never in anything this elegant. Amina's eyes then caught something unusual. On the inside of the dress, near the waist, she noticed a tiny bulge as if something was sewn into the lining. She pressed it gently with her fingers. Felt like paper. Her heart beat faster. She moved to the edge of the fabric and found a small opening in the seam, almost invisible unless someone looked closely. Carefully, she pulled out a tiny envelope. The envelope was old, yellowed at the edges but still intact. On the front was her aunt's handwriting, soft and familiar. It said, "For the one who finds this." Amina stared at the words, feeling her breath grow shallow. The message felt personal, almost like a whisper from the past. She sat still for a moment, unsure whether to open it. Her hands trembled slightly. What kind of message had her aunt hidden inside the dress? Why place it in a spot so secret? And why leave the wardrobe untouched all these years? Amina held the envelope close to her chest and closed her eyes. She felt as if she had stepped into her aunt's world, into the quiet place where secrets slept. The air in the room felt heavier, almost waiting for her next move. Slowly, she opened her eyes and looked around the room. The house seemed to be watching her, holding its breath. Outside, the wind blew softly against the window, as if encouraging her to continue. Amina took a deep breath and placed the envelope gently on the table. She was not ready to open it yet. She wanted to understand the feeling that had risen in her heart, a mix of curiosity, fear, and connection. She knew that whatever was inside the envelope would change something in her life. Maybe it was a message, a warning, or a confession. Maybe it was something her aunt had wanted someone trustworthy to find. She looked at the dress again. It lay quietly on the bed, beautiful and mysterious, almost like a silent witness waiting for its story to be heard. Amina touched the fabric once more, feeling its softness and weight. She whispered softly, "Aunt Zainab, what were you trying to tell me?" She folded the dress neatly and placed it back on the bed. She would read the letter when her heart felt ready. For now, she stood and walked to the window, staring out at the quiet village. The trees swayed gently and the air hummed with life. Amina had a strange feeling that her life in this house would be different from anything she had imagined. She felt that her aunt had left more than a house. She had left a story, a secret, and a path Amina was meant to follow. Amina turned away from the window and looked at the envelope again. She whispered, "I will open you soon. Not now, but soon." And with that promise, she felt a strange calm settle in her heart. She knew the house had secrets and she was ready to uncover them, slowly, carefully, and bravely. A few quiet days passed, and Amina slowly got used to living in her aunt's old house. She cleaned each room, arranged her things, and spent evenings sitting on the veranda, watching the sky turn orange, then purple, then dark. The quiet village life felt peaceful, but her mind kept returning to the dress and the hidden envelope she still had not opened. It rested safely inside a drawer beside her bed. She would sometimes take it out, hold it for a moment, and then put it back again. Something inside her kept delaying the moment she would read it. On the fourth morning, a knock sounded at the door. It was polite but firm, the kind that carried familiarity. Amina wiped her hands on her skirt and went to open it. Standing outside was her uncle, Damilola, her late aunt's younger brother. He was tall, with gray hair around his temples and deep lines on his face. But his eyes were kind, the same gentle brown her aunt once had. "Amina," he greeted warmly. "You look well." "Uncle Damilola," she replied with surprise. "I didn't know you were coming. I wanted to see how you were settling in," he said, stepping inside. "This house, it can feel heavy with memories." Amina nodded. "Yes. It feels like she is still here." He looked around slowly, taking in the familiar room, the old furniture, and the framed photos on the walls. For a moment he said nothing. Then he sat down on the chair her aunt once used for reading. "You are doing well," he said. "She would be happy you are here." Amina smiled softly. Her aunt had loved this house deeply. Sitting here with her uncle made the air feel alive with memories. They talked for a while, about the village, about Amina's life in the city, about her aunt's final days. Then her uncle cleared his throat, almost as if preparing to say something important. "There will be a remembrance gathering in 2 days," he said quietly. "A small family event. We hold it every year since she passed. I want you to come." "Of course," Amina said. "I will be there." Her uncle hesitated before continuing. "There is something more. I want you to wear your aunt's dress." Amina froze. "The dress?" "Yes," he said, watching her carefully. "The one she kept inside the wardrobe. It would mean a lot if you wore it. She wanted someone special to wear it someday." His request felt strange. How did he know about the dress? Had her aunt told him something before she died? Amina felt a small shiver run through her spine, but she kept her voice calm. "If it is for the gathering," she said gently, "I will wear it." He nodded with relief, as if her answer mattered more than she understood. "Good," he said softly. "Thank you." After he left, Amina sat alone in the quiet house, thinking about his request. Something felt unusual. Why would her aunt want someone to wear a dress she never wore herself? And why ask her now, just days after she found it? When the day of the remembrance gathering arrived, Amina woke early. The air outside was cool, and the morning sun painted everything in soft golden light. She washed her face, brushed her hair, and stood before the wardrobe. The dress hung quietly inside, waiting. Amina reached out and touched the fabric again. It felt warm this time, almost as if it recognized her touch. She lifted it carefully, holding it against her body. It looked beautiful and delicate, something crafted with meaning. She put it on slowly. The dress fit her perfectly, almost too perfectly. It felt like it had been made for her, even though she knew that could not be true. She fastened the small buttons and smoothed the fabric with her hands. For a moment she stared at herself in the mirror. The dress did not look old at all. It looked new, fresh, alive. As she adjusted the waist area, she felt something unusual, a small weight inside the pocket. She froze. "A pocket?" she whispered. She had not noticed it before. She slipped her fingers inside and felt a small, folded piece of paper. Her heart beat faster. There was a note. Amina pulled it out slowly. It was small, folded neatly, and the paper was the same kind her aunt often used for writing recipes or prayers. She sat down on the edge of the bed, her breath shallow, and opened it carefully. The handwriting was unmistakable, soft curves and gentle strokes. It was her Aunt Zainab's writing. The note said only a few words, but each one felt heavy. "My dear one, if you are reading this, then the time has come. Wear the dress with courage. The truth is waiting for you. Do not fear what you will discover. Follow the signs and you will understand my story." Amina stared at the words, reading them again and again. Her hands shook slightly. Her aunt had known someone would find the dress. She had known someone would wear it. She had prepared this message for a moment exactly like this. But what truth was she talking about? What signs? What story? The house suddenly felt colder, as if a quiet wind had passed through the room. Amina stood up and looked around. Everything was still the same, yet everything felt different. The note in her hand felt warm, as though her aunt's presence lingered in the ink. She placed the note gently on the bed and took a deep breath. The dress felt heavier now, not with weight but with meaning. Her uncle had asked her to wear it for the remembrance gathering, but clearly the dress carried something deeper, something her aunt had hidden, something she wanted Amina to uncover. Amina walked to the window and looked outside. The village looked calm, but there was a strange feeling in the air, something like a quiet pull. She thought about the envelope she found earlier inside the dress seam. She had not opened it yet. Maybe both messages were connected. Maybe her aunt had left more than memories. Maybe she had left a path Amina was meant to follow. A soft knock sounded on the door. It was her neighbor coming to walk with her to the gathering. Amina folded the note carefully and placed it in her small purse. She took one last look at herself in the mirror. The dress shimmered slightly in the morning light. "It's time," she whispered. She stepped outside and closed the door behind her. The path ahead looked simple, but her heart told her it would lead to secrets she had never imagined. Whatever her aunt had started, Amina knew she had to continue it. The dress had found her. The note had spoken. And now the truth was waiting. Amina returned home from the remembrance gathering feeling unsettled. All through the event, she kept touching the small note hidden inside her purse. Her uncle had acted normal, greeting people warmly and speaking about his sister with pride. But now that Amina knew the dress carried a message, everything he said felt different. Every memory he shared seemed to hide another truth beneath it. When she finally reached the quiet house, she closed the door softly behind her and stood still for a long moment. The air was calm, but her heart was racing. The dress still felt warm against her skin, as if her aunt's message was alive inside it. Amina changed into simpler clothes, folded the dress carefully and placed it on her bed. Then she sat down and opened the note again. She read the words slowly, hoping they would reveal more the second time, but the message stayed mysterious. "My dear one, the truth is waiting, follow the signs." What signs? Where should she look? The house was old and full of memories. Almost every corner held something her aunt had touched. Amina tried to think the way her aunt would. If she wanted someone to find the truth, where would she hide it? Amina stood up and walked to the wardrobe where she had first found the dress. She opened it gently. It smelled like old wood and faint perfume. Inside were a few folded clothes, a pair of worn shoes, and a wooden box at the bottom. She knelt down and pulled out the box. It was locked but not tightly. A small metal latch had rusted over time, and with a gentle push, it opened. Inside the box were papers, stacked, folded, and yellow with age. There were letters wrapped with a ribbon, old photographs, and what looked like pages torn from a diary. Amina's breath caught in her throat. She felt a shiver of excitement and fear. She touched the top letter. The handwriting was the same as the note she had found in the dress pocket. Her aunt had been saving these things carefully. Amina lifted the first letter and opened it. It was written more than 20 years ago. Her aunt spoke about feeling trapped, about wanting freedom, and about facing pressure from the family. The words were full of sadness but also strength. She wrote about dreams she could not chase, and pain she could not explain to anyone. Amina felt her chest tighten. This was a side of her aunt no one had ever spoken about. She read the next letter. This one talked about disagreements with other family members. Her aunt felt misunderstood. She felt judged for choices she made. She mentioned arguments, disappointment, and the weight of silence in the house. Amina had never heard of any of this. Her family always said her aunt lived a peaceful life, always smiling. But these letters told a different story, a private one. Amina took a deep breath and picked up a photo from the box. It showed her Aunt Zainab standing near a river with another woman beside her. They were smiling, holding hands, looking at each other with warmth. On the back of the photo were the words, "Where I feel safe." Amina paused. Who was this woman? Why had no one mentioned her? She reached for another letter. Her aunt wrote about someone named Rayliat, the same woman from the photo. They were close, but the letter hinted that the relationship caused trouble. Her aunt wrote about hiding the friendship, about the family not approving, and about the fear of losing the one person who understood her. Amina felt sadness rise inside her. She had always known her aunt to be gentle and calm, but she never imagined she carried such heavy secrets. She opened a folded diary page next. It described a moment when her aunt wanted to leave the village. She planned to live in the city with Rayliat, start fresh, and open a small craft shop. She wrote about saving money secretly and dreaming of a different life. But something happened, something that forced her to stay. The page ended suddenly, as if torn in the middle of writing. Amina searched the box for the next page but couldn't find it. She looked again, checking every folded note. Nothing. Something was missing. She took another photo from the box. This one showed her aunt looking tired, standing alone near the same river. Her smile was smaller. Her eyes looked troubled. Amina touched the picture gently. Her aunt had lived through something painful. Something that left a mark. Amina placed the letters and photos on the floor, arranging them carefully so she could see everything at once. The wooden box beside her felt lighter now, but her heart felt heavier. She remembered the message in the dress pocket, "Follow the signs." Maybe this box was only the beginning. She went to the living room, scanning the shelves and drawers. Most items were old: books, cooking tools, decorations made from clay. But one small drawer near the window felt heavier than the others. Amina opened it and found a notebook wrapped in cloth. She unwrapped it slowly. It was her aunt's diary. Amina sat on the rug and opened the first page. Her aunt wrote about her childhood, her dreams, and her hope to travel. But as the pages continued, the tone changed. She wrote about feeling watched, controlled, and judged by some relatives. She wrote about wanting to escape expectations. She wrote about Rayliat again, how kind she was, how supportive, how brave. Amina read until she reached a page that made her heart stop. Her aunt wrote that after many years of hiding her struggles, she planned to share everything with the family. She wanted to confess her truths, explain her choices, and reveal the full story. She thought the family might understand at last. But the next page showed a different tone. She wrote about fear, about a terrible argument with someone she trusted, and about losing something important. The words were rushed. The ink was darker. The page had smudges as if touched by tears. Amina whispered, "What happened to you, Auntie?" She kept reading. There were paragraphs about feeling unsafe in her own home, about losing her voice, and about giving up dreams because the weight of family pressure became too much. Yet there were also pages filled with hope. Her aunt wrote about a future where someone in the family might be brave enough to uncover her truth. "Amina," she wrote near the final pages, "if this ever reaches someone like you, someone who can understand my silence, then maybe my story will not be lost." Amina sat back, overwhelmed. Her aunt had left pieces of her life scattered around the house, waiting for someone to find them. She had left signs. And Amina was the one who followed them. She gathered everything, the diary, letters, photos, and placed them neatly on the bed beside the dress. The dress now felt like a key, unlocking a part of the family history no one dared speak about. Amina looked around the room. She knew this was only the beginning. There were more secrets in this house. More pages missing. More truths hidden in quiet corners. Her aunt's story was calling her deeper. And Amina knew she had to continue. Amina woke up early the next morning. She had barely slept. Her mind was full of letters, photos, diary pages, and all the things she had discovered about her Aunt Zainab. The more she thought about it, the more she felt a heaviness in her chest. Her aunt had lived with pain, secrets, and silence. And the family had allowed that silence to stay for many years. Amina knew she could not keep quiet. She needed answers. She needed to understand why no one had told her the truth. She needed to know why her aunt had been left alone with her struggles. She needed to know who had caused the fear in her aunt's life. So she made a decision. She would speak to Uncle Damilola. He was the oldest person in the family still alive. He had always spoken proudly about family traditions. He always knew what everyone should do, how they should behave, and what they should say. If anyone knew the truth, it would be him. Amina stood in front of the mirror and took a deep breath. She felt nervous, but she also felt strong. Her aunt had trusted her enough to leave clues behind. Amina could not betray that trust by staying silent. She left the house and walked toward the village market, where she knew her uncle usually spent his mornings. The sun was rising slowly, casting a soft golden light over the dusty paths. People moved around, setting up stalls, carrying baskets, greeting one another. But Amina barely noticed them. Her mind was fixed on one thing only, the conversation she had to have. She found Uncle Damilola sitting under a tree near a row of shops. He was speaking with two older men and laughing. His laughter felt strange to her now, knowing what she knew. She walked toward him slowly. When he saw her, he waved happily. "Amina, my child. You came early. Are you well?" She nodded, but her face remained serious. "Uncle, I need to speak with you." He noticed her tone immediately. His smile faded slightly and he excused himself from the two men. They stepped aside, leaving Amina and her uncle alone beneath the tree. "What is it?" he asked softly. Amina held her breath for a moment. Then she said, "I found Aunt Zainab's letters. I found her diary. I know she suffered. I know she was hiding things from everyone. And I want to know why." Her uncle blinked as if he had been struck by something he didn't expect. He looked away and rubbed his hands slowly. "So, you found them?" "Yes," Amina whispered. "I did." There was a long silence. Birds chirped above them. People walked by, unaware of the heavy moment happening under the tree. Amina watched her uncle's face. He looked older than she had ever noticed. His shoulders seemed heavier. Finally he spoke. "Amina, your aunt went through many things. We all knew she was unhappy, but we did not know how to help her. We were afraid. Afraid of what she might say. Afraid of what we might discover. Afraid the truth would break our family apart." Amina shook her head slowly. But hiding the truth broke her instead. He closed his eyes as if her words hurt him. "You're right. We made mistakes." Amina stepped closer. Her voice was firm. Her letters said she felt trapped. Her diary said she felt unsafe. She wrote about dreams she could not chase. She wrote about being afraid to speak. Why didn't anyone listen to her? Her uncle's voice trembled. "Because we were raised to believe that silence was safer than honesty. We thought we were protecting her. We thought the family's peace was more important than her pain. We did not understand how wrong we were." Amina felt a wave of frustration rise inside her. But she was alone. You all let her carry everything by herself. Her uncle looked at her with tired eyes. "We failed her. All of us." She tried to speak many times, but the family was stubborn. People judged easily. People forced her to be who she was not. And when she tried to step away from the expectations, we pushed her harder. Amina wrapped her arms around herself. She felt cold even though the sun was warm. She wrote about Rayliat. She wrote about fights. She wrote that she wanted to leave. She wrote that she was scared. Why didn't anyone help her? He sighed deeply. Rayliat was her closest friend. Some people did not approve. They thought Zainab was changing too much. They said she was forgetting tradition. They made her feel guilty for wanting a different life. And when she stopped talking about her dreams, we thought she had accepted things. We thought she was fine. But she wasn't. Amina stared at him. "So you all chose silence over truth?" He nodded slowly. "Yes. And we regret it." Amina's heart broke a little more. She had loved her aunt deeply, even though they had not spent much time together. She remembered her aunt as gentle and warm, always smiling softly. Now she understood that smile had been a shield. "Uncle," Amina said, her voice shaking, "you cannot hide something like this. You cannot pretend everything was fine. You cannot leave me with half a story." Her uncle raised his eyes and looked at her with sadness. "What more do you want to know?" "I want to know everything," she replied firmly. "Every truth. Every secret. Every reason no one helped her. I want to know what she faced. I want to know what frightened her. I want to know why you all let her suffer quietly." Her uncle seemed to think deeply. Then he nodded. "You deserve to know. And maybe it is time for the truth to come out." Amina felt a mixture of relief and sorrow. He continued, "Your aunt was brave. Braver than any of us. She wanted freedom, but we held her back because we feared change. She wanted to be understood, but we shut our ears because her truth scared us. We thought we were protecting her from shame. But instead we caused her more pain. Amina felt tears gather in her eyes, but she blinked them away. I want the family to face this. All of it. Her uncle looked frightened for a moment. There will be anger. There will be embarrassment. Some people will deny everything. Some will refuse to listen. She lifted her chin. Then they will face me. He stared at her, surprised by her courage. Slowly he placed a hand on her shoulder. You remind me of Zainab, he said. Strong. Brave. Honest. Amina took a deep breath. I'm not doing this to start a fight. I'm doing it because the truth matters. Aunt Zainab deserves that. Her uncle nodded. I will stand with you. Amina felt her heart soften a little. Thank you. They stood together under the tree, surrounded by the everyday sounds of the village. But everything felt different now. Amina had taken her aunt's silence and turned it into strength. The truth was opening like a door that had been locked for years. And Amina was ready to walk through it. Amina woke up the next morning feeling lighter than she had felt in many days. The truth was no longer hiding in dusty boxes or old letters. It was no longer buried in quiet corners of the house or trapped in forgotten pages of a diary. It was out now, breathing freely just like her aunt would have wanted. Amina knew there was still more to understand, more feelings to face, but she no longer felt lost. She felt strong. Her parents arrived early to check on her. Their faces were full of concern and curiosity. They had heard from Uncle Damilola that Amina had discovered many hidden things about Aunt Zainab. They wanted to hear it from Amina herself. She welcomed them inside and sat with them in the living room. The sunlight filled the room softly, warming the air. Her father looked at her carefully. Her mother reached for her hand. Amina, her mother said gently, we heard you learn things about Zainab, things we should have spoken about long ago. Amina nodded. Yes, Mama. I found her letters, her diary, her pictures. I saw her pain. I saw what she lived with. Her mother lowered her eyes. We were wrong to hide it. We should have helped her. Her father sighed deeply. His voice sounded heavy. Your aunt was a strong woman, but we did not give her space to be herself. We wanted her to fit into our way of life. We never asked what she wanted. Amina looked at both of them. She felt no anger now, only sadness and a deep desire for change. She deserved better, she said softly. Her father nodded. Yes, and so do you. We will not repeat our mistakes. Her brother Kalu arrived soon after, carrying a basket of fruits. He gave Amina a quiet smile, the kind that said he understood even if he didn't have all the details. He hugged her lightly. I'm proud of you, he whispered. You didn't stay silent. Amina smiled. Her heart warmed. She needed their support and she felt it now, surrounding her like a soft blanket. She was no longer alone in this truth. The family spent the morning listening to her. Amina shared everything, how she found the dress, how she found the note, how she discovered the box and the letters, how she read the diary, how she spoke with Uncle Damilola. Her parents listened without interrupting, sometimes wiping their eyes, sometimes shaking their heads at their own past mistakes. When she finished speaking, her mother pulled her close. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for giving your aunt a voice again. Amina felt tears finally slip down her face, but they were gentle tears, not heavy ones. She wiped them away and breathed deeply. Later that day, with her family behind her, Amina made another brave decision. She wanted the village to know her aunt's real story. She wanted people to understand that hiding pain did not protect anyone, and silence could cause deeper wounds. She wanted her aunt's life to help others. So she called for a small gathering in the village square. People came slowly at first, women carrying baskets, men returning from the farms, young boys kicking a ball, older women walking with steady steps. The children who played near the old mango tree stopped when they saw the group forming. Curiosity pulled everyone closer. Amina stood on a wooden stool so people could see her. Her parents and Kalu stood beside her. Uncle Damilola joined too, his face serious and humble. Villagers whispered among themselves. They wondered what Amina had to say. She took a deep breath. Her heart beat fast, but she did not feel afraid. She felt ready. She began to speak. I want to tell you a story, she said. A story about my Aunt Zainab, the woman who lived in the old house behind the big neem tree. People nodded. They remembered Zainab, the quiet woman who smiled politely but rarely spoke for long. Some remembered her warm greetings. Others remembered her gentle laugh. But none of them knew her full story. Amina continued. For many years she hid her pain. She hid her dreams. She hid her true self. She felt she could not speak because she feared judgment. She feared being misunderstood. She feared losing the people she loved. The villagers grew silent. Some lowered their eyes. Others looked surprised. Amina held up one of the letters. She didn't read it aloud, but she explained what she had found. The letters full of sadness, the diary pages full of hope and fear, the pictures that showed a friendship judged too harshly, and the dreams her aunt wanted but never chased because of pressure and fear. She did not blame anyone. She simply told the truth. Her voice was steady and honest. My aunt suffered quietly. And the family stayed silent too. Silence can be dangerous. Silence can take away someone's voice. We must learn from her story. Some villagers nodded slowly. Others whispered among themselves. A few looked guilty, remembering times when they had judged Zainab without understanding her. Then Uncle Damilola stepped forward. His voice trembled as he spoke. We failed her. We hid the truth because we were afraid. But we were wrong. Amina has reminded us that hiding pain does not protect a family. Facing truth does. The villagers listened closely. His words opened something in the group, an old wound that had never healed properly. Amina stepped down from the stool. She held the dress, the same dress that had started everything. It looked simple in her hands, yet it carried so much history now. This dress, she said softly, was once a mystery. But now it reminds me of courage, truth, and the strength to ask questions. She folded it gently and held it against her chest. The villagers slowly approached her. Some offered kind words. Others apologized for judging her aunt long ago. A few asked how they could help her honor Zainab's memory. Amina felt surrounded by warmth she had not expected. When the gathering ended, Amina walked home with her family. The sky above them glowed orange as the sun began to set. The air felt peaceful. Inside the house, Amina placed the dress back in the wardrobe. Not hidden, not forgotten, just resting like a piece of history finally understood. She placed the letters and diary pages in a small wooden box and kept it near her bed. She would protect them, but she would not keep them secret. The truth belonged to the family now. And the lessons belonged to the village. That night, sitting by the window, Amina felt a soft breeze. She closed her eyes and imagined her aunt beside her, smiling a gentle, grateful smile. For the first time, Amina felt completely free. She knew her life was just beginning. Her own life, shaped by honesty, courage, and the strength to speak even when others stayed silent. She would live boldly. She would help others find their voices. She would honor her aunt every day, not with sorrow but with strength. Amina stood up, walked away from the window, and stepped into a future she was finally ready for. She walked forward with confidence, carrying truth in her heart. It was a new beginning.